This is Doug in Exile, where all the happy patriots are. Guys, when it all burns down, look to your neighbor, look to your church, look to your friends who have your back. Build those relationships now. Not that we're going to need it just yet, but we're praying that God applies the Trump tourniquet to our country, even though I think personally we have not repented enough to deserve anything. I think we're so recalcitrant in our sin that maybe he needs to shake us loose with the Kamala Harris. And frankly, if we vote for a Kamala Harris, I think we deserve much worse. But it's not my place to judge. First, here's the election wizard with the hard facts. RCP average in Michigan, Trump 48.4, that's plus 0.2. Harris 47.2, that's like a 1.2 percentage point ahead. Now remember, 3 percentage points is the margin of error. So they're literally tied with Trump slightly ahead. There's no way you can gauge that accurately. When you're talking about millions of people coming in and voting, or even thousands of people, you can't tell if you're off by 3%. So all we know is they're about tied, and there's a lot more excitement for Trump than Harris. That's how I'd put it. Now, and then here's the main thing is compare it to where we're at on this day in 2020. Well, Biden was up 7.8. He had 6 points more than Trump does right now. And by the way, there's a lot of explaining that too. I can easily dismiss that. So this is where I'm not trying to dash your hopes. I'm not saying I am not going to the conspiracy that someone's cheating. I believe it's entirely possible they could cheat. I'm only saying, you know what happens if Trump finally gets the message out that we should be early voting? And we do. Everyone goes out and early votes. So the numbers would naturally spike for Trump this year when he started saying, go vote early, instead of back in 2020 when he said, hey guys, these votes are rigged, don't early vote. So that explains the number difference right there. And then on this day in 2016, Hillary was up plus 11, where she got smeared in territories America barely even knew existed. Breaking, Javier Milei to dissolve the Argentina IRS, creating a new agency with 34% employees and lower salaries. Now that sounds like one way. Instead of trying to reform the IRS, can we just obliterate it, just dissolve it, and create a whole new agency that handles all the taxes? Speaking of woke, corrupt IRS-like belief system, here's Bono. Breaking, Bono vows to drive his car off a cliff if Donald Trump wins the 2024 election. Now, Bono, does that seem like a good idea? Oh, he doesn't promise that he would be in it. Bono, thanks for weighing in on our elections. Aren't you a citizen of another country? Haven't you bilked Americans out of billions of enough dollars? I own your whole library. And now I got to hear you say this about Trump. Okay, here's Dom Luker, breaker of narratives. I love Dom Luker. Breaking, it has been confirmed that Eminem will appear at Kamala Harris's rally just to introduce President Obama. Hoodie wearing, white guy, albino white Eminem he's not going to show up to sing, guys. He's just going to show up to give that white Irvine street cred.
I think Vice President Harris supports a future for this country where these freedoms and many others will be protected and upheld.
So she can bring out Obama, who's the real celebrity, I guess, because she can't speak. Can we also put up a 3D avatar of Obama instead of having the real Obama?
President Barack Obama.
Let's get to this one. Bruce Springsteen, for all of you in my audience, I have to probably tell you who he is. If you're under the age of 78 years old, I probably got to tell you who Bruce Springsteen is.
In most presidential campaigns that you and I have been involved in, Bruce Springsteen tends to close. I remember 2004, he had the beautiful concerts, regardless of his politics. The music was beautiful, right? Bruce Springsteen is kind of a go-to closer for Democrats.
Yeah, okay, so he closed it in 2004. Back when Kerry, as in John who? Kerry, Bruce Springsteen came out and sang his one or two songs that people have ever heard of. I know Born in the USA, which is just yelling it over and over again. That's better than most illegals can say. Born in the USA. You have a soul patch like a 22-year-old youth pastor. Los Angeles Times won't endorse for president, but it's okay, Kamala Harris, because we have Eminem and Bono endorsing you. We've got it covered. Lizzo came out and endorsed you. We don't need the LA Times. Now, this is the first time LA Times has not endorsed in a long time. Let's just say that they normally do. This is a good sign of trouble for her. Now we're going to go to this Eat the Bugs TED Talk by this World Economic Forum egg-headed guy who is like, well, you can tell me what's wrong with this political philosophy.
Many, maybe most legal systems are based on this idea, this belief in human rights.
Okay, there you go. This is on the belief of human rights. Guys, where do human rights come from? Can you weigh them? Can you see them? Can you feel them? Can you touch them? Can you drag them in the snow? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow?
But human rights are just like heaven and like God. It's just a fictional story that we've invented and spread around.
Now, wait a minute, egghead. Okay, fictional story we spread around. What this guy has to prove to me is that philosophy also is not a fictional story that we spread around. That this story that he's saying, that God and rule of law and human rights are just a fictional story that we spread around. He has to prove to me that that is not just a fictional story that we spread around, and we're spreading around right now the fictional story that we just spread fictional stories around. See how this is a philosophy that they, as they say, it hoists itself on its own retard.
It may be a very nice story.
Well, if he's talking about the Old Testament, clearly it's not a nice story.
It may be a very attractive story. We want to believe it.
The attractive story of you will suffer, you'll be tormented, you'll be persecuted for what you believe. That nice story. You will love your enemies. If someone like destroys your family, you'll love your enemies. That nice story, dummy.
But it's just a story. It's not a reality.
He has not defined what the difference is between a story and a reality. He's going to go to some of the David Hume stuff. Empiricism, if I don't see it, feel it, taste it, touch it, it doesn't exist. And of course, his philosophy, you cannot see, feel, taste, touch. It's something you believe, it's immaterial. Therefore, in his view, his own philosophy doesn't exist, and we can discount it on his own empirical demands that we discount these things as superstition. His story itself is superstition by his standards. Therefore, we can make fun of it. We can print it out on a piece of paper and rub it all over our crotch and our armpits while laughing at him and making fun of his big egghead and his funny accent.
It is not a biological reality.
And again, what is a biological reality? That people make up stories and then call them God, about God? Did you find that in biology, egghead, Professor Peabody?
Just as jellyfish and woodpeckers and ostriches have no rights, Homo sapiens have no rights also.
Yeah, I saw a woodpecker mating with its own offspring, and it had no rights. You're a pedophile.
Take a human, cut him open, look inside, you find their blood, and you find the heart and lungs and kidneys.
It sounds like he's talking about this from personal experience. Just the accent, check this guy's basement because it's probably full of the 18 severed heads of Asian boys.
But you don't find there any rights. The only place you find rights is in the fictional stories that humans have invented and spread around.
Okay, you know what else you find? You don't just find human rights in there. You find every philosophy. You find the laws of logic. You find the rules of science. You find that thing when you tell me, no, I can't harvest your organs to redistribute and save 15 lives. You find, how much does it weigh that I love my wife? How much does it weigh on a scale that I have courage? How about that I tell the truth? How about that I not just take your children and eat them? How much does that weigh? Or does that value just not even? It's all an illusion. These materialists crack me up. No man lives this way. This guy, if he actually believed this and lived on it, and he would just say, look, if I get away with it, I get away with it. He should be destroyed.
And the same thing is also true in the political field. States and nations are also, like human rights and like God and like heaven, they too are just stories.
On what grounds do you say that they're just stories? Why can't they also be stories and be other things like everything important that matters to us? Why can't it also be, construed, immaterially construed, but into reality? Why not? This guy he tells you a universal negative of what it must not be. Somehow this guy knows the boundaries because he appears to be anorexic.
A mountain is a reality. You can see it, you can touch it, you can even smell it. But Israel or the United States, they are just stories.
Now, wait a minute. I can touch Israel and I can touch the United States. And he's going to say that mountain is not a country. Well, what about when you stand on the mountain? Are you not also a mountain? How about you become a mountain? You call that mound a mountain, and the mountain isn't there either. Your word for it to differentiate it from the masses of mounds next to it. He plays these games and he'll use words as he wants them and dismiss them when it comes down to a country he really, really hates, which is apparently Israel. Check his oven for ashes.
Very powerful stories, stories we might want to believe very much, but still they are just stories.
You know, I want to believe that the scientific principle, scientific method works. That's a neat fiction.
You can't really see the United States. You cannot touch it. You cannot smell it.
Yeah, and I can't smell your value either. So if you don't mind, I need to make some human sausage out of you and serve it up to the family because we're stronger than you. Then again, who's weaker than you? I mean, Betty White has been dead and she could beat you at arm wrestling. Same with B. Arthur. All of the Golden Girls are all dead and they could all right now beat you at arm wrestling. I'm Doug Tenaple.